What do you think, James? Are you the band on the ship?
Well, I would definitely be in the band on the ship, yeah. But I mean, yeah, it feels like that. But at the same time, if those of us that feel like we know what's going on and probably are on the right side of this conversation, if we're being outsmarted or kind of almost outbranded by the guys that are convincing everybody that the Titanic isn't sinking because it hit an iceberg, but it's sinking because of small dinghies with like a couple of dudes coming over is what's sinking the Titanic. Then I mean, is the kind of onus on us that we're not doing a good enough job? If this barrage of like populist, narcissistic, sociopath assholes is peddling the same bullshit that they were peddling 100 years ago, and they're gaining more momentum than those of us on the left, who are who presumably more enlightened and more informed than on the right side of history, then I mean, I'm starting to feel more disenfranchised and more pissed off with my side of the team, because we're losing to these guys. How are they winning? How are they winning the conversation again with the same old fucking lie they were peddling out 100 years ago?
It's a tough one. I did some flyering this week, and I just said to anyone taking the flyer, I was like, "Do you hate Donald Trump? Do you hate Nigel Farage? Do you hate Brexit? Take this, vote for this party." And there were people stopping, being triggered by what I said, and coming back over to collect the pamphlet. And they're like, "Yeah, I do hate Donald Trump, and I do hate Brexit, and I do hate Nigel Farage." And you're going, shit, we've actually gotten to a point where we've actually got this split. But you're also noticing it's like that type of rhetoric seems to be grabbing people's attention. Not many people are saying that. I mean, out of the three major parties, Conservatives, Labour, Reform, who's really the anti-Trump party? None of them. And yet the majority of the population hate the guy. I think the Daily Mail this week came out, and like Zoe Gardner's doing the Stop the Trump rally, and the Daily Mail have come out and said, dump Trump. Don't let him come over for the state visit. Madge, what do you think?
Yeah, I think with Trump, I think because America is so powerful, he'll get away with a lot, and that's why Labour have kind of been cucked by him so badly. The Tories as well are in a similar position, I think, and they're trying to be nice to him in order to kind of get the tariffs lowered, which might have worked, but I'm not sure yet because we don't know what concessions have been offered to Donald Trump. Like he's got the state visit which he wants because it'll be historic because it's two time. But yeah, I think America's just too powerful for it. The UK is desperate for growth, as we've seen with the India trade deal, with a lot of the decisions they've made. It's just trying to get boost the growth statistics without anything else really being taken into account.
Mm.
And so yeah, with the reform stuff, like I saw Matt List talking about how this isn't. I think Max, you covered actually, like this isn't a new party. They've been existing for a while. It's like, okay, you finally figured out how to do your job again, then that's good to know, because you guys have been doing a dog shit like role. Like Goodall was talking about, oh, we have to give them proper scrutiny. And I was like, you should have been doing that for about 15 years, buddy. That's the job. That's what you're meant to be doing. Yeah, scrutinizing them, looking at their record. You've only just seen their immigration record, or their policy of one in, one out being properly scrutinized by Laura Kuenssberg of all people. Jesus Christ, man, it's a sad world when Kuenssberg's actually doing her job properly. But like that's the point, is that they should have been scrutinized from the start. She actually did a good job. Talking to Zia Yusuf about, are you going to use taxpayers' money to deal with legal challenges against the asylum hotels? He couldn't answer that. And all Labour have to say is, look, they're spending money on bogus legal challenges instead of fixing bars. As an easy dub. Like I don't see why they're not going for that angle. Like they're meant to be housing, looking after vulnerable people in their councils. Instead, they're going to be waging bogus legal challenges and all sorts of other nonsense. Like this is such an easier win for everyone else, honestly. But they're going to choose not to do it, blocking planning permission. I saw a couple of people covering the fact they want to get rid of green jobs in their area as well, which is like really dumb because that area makes a lot of money through green tech. So there's a lot of angles they can go for. It's a target-rich environment. It's just a question of, is anyone smart enough to really go for it? But yeah, with Trump, like I saw Paul Mason talking about Nigel Farage's Trump's man in Britain. He's like, that's fair, but you can also argue Keir Starmer's Trump's man in Britain, because he's parroting everything else. Oh, globalization is dead. Oh, but we got a trade deal with India suddenly. What's that then? So it doesn't. A lot of the stuff doesn't make sense. It's just because America's too powerful. Like the only country willing to stand up to them was probably China. The EU as a bloc did stand up to them and got results. But I think he did all of this to start a fight with China. It's just all cover. It's just all cover. If you look at the countries he's caved to Vietnam. They've got a temporary exemption There's a couple other countries with temporary exemptions as well. China's the only one that didn't get it, and so I think he's trying to say is you play ball, then you can get good agreements off us, but if you retaliate, it's going to be bad. But I think all of this was to start his second trade war with China, which he did during his first term.
You think it's just a follow up, basically? Well, I mean, it
Yeah.
is, isn't it? It's just part
I
two.
mean, if you look at it, I can't remember. There was a Newsnight clip with a trade expert from, I want to say, London School of Economics. She was saying, well, China actually won one of the cases in the WTO against America regarding like tariffs or something like that. And so, he did this in the first place. Farmers struggled in America because of the tariffs and things like that on Chinese products and China's retaliatory tariffs. So this is just a continuation of it because China are a big dog over there, and America's scared of him. So that's one of the reasons he's doing this. Also, the fact that it's a villain. That's what every good story needs. Trying to villainize China, but then China were like, "Cool, we'll just do agreements with everyone being the nice guy." You absolute moron. So yeah,
It's funny
he
how
got played.
we were talking about this last week, and it was Japan, South Korea, and China had all come together to discuss how to deal with Donald Trump.
Yeah, historically besties. Historically, the besties, the best friends, definitely never fought with each other or invade another country or colonize another one of them. Definitely not. None of that ever happened. Yeah, genocide or anything. Killing a monarch, splitting their country, putting in a puppet ruler. That never happened. No, never. So the historically best friends always, and Trump's put these best friends back together again, to trade with each other a bit more. So yeah. Big up Donald for uniting neighboring countries with each other.
Trumpty Dumpty brings to mind.
Broke the very Chinese wall.
But do you know that
he smashed up against it? He's just yoke on the floor against the Chinese wall. It's fucking amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, he's like fried rice.
Yeah, fucking hell. Max, what did you think of the UK-US trade deal then, with bearing that all in mind?
Yeah, so there's very little detail at the moment, but it seems to be the case that the UK has agreed to increase the quota of US beef coming in. So I think the quota was pretty much zero, so there was no beef coming in. So they're going to increase it. A figure I saw was 12,000 tons, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. But Starmer and the government has said that they're not going to reduce standards. So there are probably conditions connected to that. Yeah, we'll import your beef, but it's not going to be it's not going to be hormone treated, or we're not going to have chlorinated. So they have sort of stuck to that. From the beginning, I've always thought this was maybe a security thing. The UK wants to increase its military spending, and maybe an agreement with Trump was, okay, we'll buy some of your stuff. So that could have been it. Or it could just be a case of, look, you will reduce the tariffs on goods coming in from the US, and you do the same for us, and it's something that Trump can sell as a win. I don't think it's really going to have much of an impact either way. The NHS, there's no mention of that. The only concern is that there is this is not really an agreement, it's just a deal, and an agreement is a full thing, while a deal is just something that people... Sorry, go on.
It's more a bilateral deal than anything. It's not a full-on trade deal. Like, he's gotten rid of a tariff that he put on UK steel and aluminium, or aluminum if you're American. And so what he's done is he's put this thing on, this tariff on, and said, look, I'll get rid of these tariffs, but in exchange you have to do something for me for free, because that's what he's done. He's won. Like, he's won this leg of the trade war with the British, because he's put a lower car tariff. I don't know if that existed beforehand, but the UK is removing the tariff on ethanol for US goods and agrees that reciprocal market access on beef. So yeah, American beef can come to the UK, but it's got to, they're going to check it at the border. How are they going to do that when we don't have the border agents to even check EU goods? Yeah, no, sorry, it runs with McGregor. There was no check, but yeah, honestly, that's all it is. Like, do we have the border agents to deal with American beef coming in? I don't know, because we don't have it for the EU goods coming in. We don't even check Irish goods coming in. So, good luck, finding staff to do that, or the money to do that. Or as the Prime Minister once said, we can't afford that right now. So, hormone beef coming to you on the sly, potentially. But Trump's won. I think he's won against Starmer because he put tariffs on. He said, look, I'll get rid of these if you do something for me. And he got that. And so he's going to use that to say, well, if you hold tight, we'll get the agreements we want. So, easy dub.
It's a bit weird in the fact that he smashed the global economy, which hits the American economy. And then he somehow still comes out as if he's won, even though he broke the... It's like smashing up football and somehow scoring a goal. You've destroyed an entire trade agreement around the world, and you somehow got a tiny bit back. So it's a victory.
He wanted to change. He wanted to change the game, and he managed to do it. You know, essentially, he got rid of the offside rule or whatever analogy you want to come up with in that. But that's what he's done. I mean, he's saying, you know, free trade and stuff doesn't work, and then he's managed to use that to get concessions out of people who are desperate. And you know, the UK are desperate for any kind of win. And yeah, you know, Starmer's got 2 in a week really with India and the US, and it's going to look great. You know, he's going to push that domestically, but realistically, he hasn't really gotten that much.